Hello. The flip side of income inequality is the inequality of serving your fellow man. Now, this is a video on economics, obviously. My last name is Haley, so Haleynomics, my take on economics. And you see here some of the people I really admire in economics. More on the conservative, libertarian, liberty-minded, conservative side. So, let's keep on going with this one. Many people complain about income inequality. Many people complain about that. However, have they considered the flip side? In the free enterprise system, people receiving services freely turn over their hard-earned money for those services. So that's highly important to understand. People only freely turn over their money if they are served in direct proportion to the amount they were served. So they get to pick whether something is more expensive or less expensive. They get to turn down the more expensive stuff if they wish to. It's a two-sided agreement. The inequality of servicing your fellow man is directly proportional to the income inequality. So the person who serves their fellow man a lot, they get a lot more income. That's in direct proportion to the income inequality is how much service you give to them. Complaining about the rich making too much money is complaining that the rich are serving their fellow man too much. That is silly. It's silly to do it. That's true, but it's silly to complain about a rich person because a rich person is serving their fellow man. Now, given that this is free enterprise. Now, when you talk about government or corruption and different things like that, that's a whole different story. I'm talking about free enterprise here. So the pie is not a fixed size. The rich serving more people does not limit others from adding their services to the universal producers. The two-sided agreed upon supply of services and the demand for services always match. The amount that is sold is the amount that is bought. That's what that's trying to say. It has to match. So anybody can add to it. And when you add to it and somebody buys from you, then you buy from somebody else. It always matches in that universe of all the sales. It has to. Okay, every person in the free enterprise system, I'm always going to come back and say that. We don't obviously live in a totally free enterprise system. There's a lot of noise in that, a lot of government control in some instances. Every person can offer their money to a rich person, a poor person, or a middle-class person, provider of services. So you get to decide. When you go to Walmart, you know that a lot of that money is going to go to a very rich person who owns Walmart. A lot of really rich people. And a lot of really well-off people, and a lot of middle-class people, and a lot of poor people. So you know that money's going to go to those people. You could choose to offer to a poor person, but is that poor person giving you that milk, those eggs, those clothes, whatever, at the same price and at that same quality? Let's keep on going because I'll be repeating myself if I go off the rabbit trails. Most consumers generally look to receive the best services, the best service for the least amount of payment, regardless of the provider's wealth status. So a lot of people, when they choose to shop, they don't care about the wealth status of the person. They just care about what they're getting and what they're coming back. And the quality of the product they're getting and versus the money they're giving over. Now, given that they're, the person that you're not giving it to is evil or something like that, promoting really bad things, so some people will make those decisions based off of the person they're giving it to, and they don't want to support somebody who is, in their opinion, not very good person or doing bad. Okay, making an income of $1 million means that you serve others enough for those others to turn over $1 million to you. If you made $40,000, you served your fellow man sufficient for them to turn over $40,000 to you. Yes, a person making $1 million served their fellow man and women 25 times more than the person making 40. A lot of people don't want to hear that. They say, oh, that person making 40 worked just as hard. Well, not compared to not compared to the what the people buying the product said. The person buying the product says, I'm going to choose to fund the rich guy more. So, or the person makes 100 shirts versus 4 shirts, and in that same amount of time, and they sell that. There's a lot to it. Let's keep on going. But it is true. People don't like to hear it, but it's true. The service amount, quality, and usefulness are defined by the people providing the service and the people receiving the service, the buyer and the seller, in a double-sided agreement of service for income. So it's highly important to understand we have double-sided agreements here. In the free enterprise system, every person is allowed to offer their service to the universe of consumers. Again, in the free enterprise system, every consumer is entitled to choose who will serve them from the universe of provided services. Obviously, it's two-sided agreement still, but everybody gets to choose, both on the buyer side and the seller side. In the free enterprise system means that every trade of service for income must be freely entered into by the provider and the consumer of services. I will use services for products and services. So whenever I say services, I mean products or services, because serving somebody with a product, that's still service. You made that product for them. And other items of worth. So anything of worth, land, whatever, stocks, bonds, is still somebody's providing something of worth for something of worth. Money for something of worth. And the money is something of worth. And other items of worth, because all things of worth are derived from labor services. So just a little definition so we don't get mixed up by saying, why didn't you say products and services? Whenever I say services, I will mean products and services and anything of worth. The person with higher income serves their fellow man more than the poor person does, as defined by the consumer of those services. In fact, they provide services in direct proportion to their income. So highly important there. A person making $500,000 serves their fellow man 10 times more than the person making $50,000. Similar to what I already said, but I'm using two different numbers because some people make $25,000 or $50,000 and some people make $500,000. A person making $5 million serves their fellow man 200 times more than that person making $25,000, as defined by the people that are buying the product, that are turning over their hard-earned money to those people. I would be willing to sell my signing talents for 1% of the money Taylor Swift charges. So I can't sing, no doubt about it. Nobody wants to hear me sing. But would people want to? I would be willing to sell my services for singing for 1% of what Taylor Swift does. Obviously, nobody would want to come to there. So nobody wants to pay me to hear me sing. So so that doesn't work. The quality of my singing is not the quality of Taylor Swift or any other rich singer. And still nobody would turn over that money. This shows that everyone determines what services they pay for. So I could give a concert just like Taylor Swift could give a concert. And I could charge 1% of 1%, and everybody can save a lot of money because they don't have to pay that $100 ticket. They can pay me a $1 ticket, but still nobody wants to come see me for even $1. I would have to pay them. The board of directors of a billion-dollar corporation could save a lot of money by asking anyone in their thousands of frontline employees to be the CEO at 5% of the typical CEO compensation. So let's say the CEO gets paid $2 million, 5% of that would be, I think, $100,000 if I got my money math right there. So yeah, a lot of people would take that increase from that $50,000 customer service job or whatever. But the board of directors are not going to just offer it to anybody because they do not have that skill set needed to run that corporation in an experienced manner. So let's keep on reading here. However, the corporation could lose 10 times the CEO salary per inexperienced decision. So every inexperienced decision they make, they could lose a ton of money. Okay, generally, the rich gain their wealth in a few different ways. Let's examine how the rich become rich. Why do people give money? Why do rich people give more money than the poor? Why do people give rich people more money than people give poor people money? The simple answer is because the rich offer better services at a lower cost compared to the poor. So they get to offer more services, the better services. Let's say eggs at a lower cost. The grocery stores do it for less than $2. I probably would have to charge $10 or $20 a dozen. So because I'm not experienced at raising chickens and getting eggs and getting it to the market and selling it and opening up a store in the whole 9 yards. So there's a structure there. Okay, the rich work more hours. Well, sometimes the rich work more hours. Sometimes they don't. They reduce waste. They increase effectiveness and productivity. The rich explore the well-paid opportunities to serve. The rich spend years of uncompensated work learning, so they go to college, not compensated. They go into debt. So they spend years of uncompensated work learning, and in fact, spending money to be taught. Most rich people have an attitude of taking responsibility, a mentality of solving problems, and a wholesome mindset of their role in serving the end consumer. So it's highly important to understand all this. Entertainment. So entertainers, I go back to the singer and stuff. Often a wealthy person finds a way to do a high quality work once and inexpensively copy that product or service by the millions. So sing one good song, get all the acoustics right, get everything perfectly, and then put it on a CD and sell it. Now it's downloads and stuff. Singers spend millions to create one really good album and release it for millions to download, for millions of people to download. Sports stars entertain tens of millions of people in a stadium, or maybe in a stadium only 100,000 people, but on TV, tens of millions. Rush Limbaugh, the famous talk show host, produced a high quality show broadcast on many hundreds of radio stations. These performers could make very little on their own without all the radio stations and all the different people involved in putting out that program. Countless thousands of people using the division of labor are necessary to provide entertainment services to millions of consumers. Organizing the division of labor. A CEO of a billion-dollar company is paid millions because he or she is highly skilled at controlling labor hours and making quality investment decisions. And if they're not, the board of directors will switch them out to somebody who is. If any part of the supply chain or sales operation is broken, a proportion of the incoming revenue is eliminated. So that's highly important that they can't let something go like that. For the most part, the rich run a company or a part of a company that is producing tens of thousands times more wealth for others compared to their own personal earnings. So a rich person, if they earn $1 million, a lot of times it's $100 million company, and $99 million is earned by others. So it's highly important to understand all that. So when that goes away, those $99,000 goes away as well. All those earnings for all those other people. Now somebody else might pick up the slack, but right now they're in second place, and it's not going to be as good. The cost for those services probably a little bit more, maybe not as high quality. So people lose. The general public loses a little bit. A product that's a little bit lower, that's higher quality and a lower cost, because they now go to the second place person, because that rich person chose not to run that company. So let's keep on going. A person running a $1 billion a year business is responsible for several $1 million jobs. Dozens of jobs over 300,000. So it's a $1 billion business. So you're talking about hundreds, at least hundreds of thousands of jobs, or if not tens of thousands. I forget what I put on here, but I kind of ran the numbers, have a decent idea what's going on. But a $1 billion business, probably several jobs in over 1 million, dozens of jobs over 300,000, hundreds of jobs over 100,000. Hundreds of them. Several thousand jobs over $70,000, and tens of thousands of part-time and entry-level positions. All to put out a product that tens of millions of people or hundreds of millions of people enjoy their product, that turn over their hard-earned money to get those products. These jobs are directly through the businesses they operate and an appropriate proportion of vendors or other companies directly associated with running that business. If the CEO receives $10 million per year, others receive probably 99 times that, or $990 million. Anyone can apply for that $10 million CEO position. However, the board of directors knows that a mistake can cost thousands of jobs and billions in lost wages over time. The experience of the past success of top executives is vital to increase the odds. The current business will thrive. Experienced executive is vital to increase the odds. The current business will thrive. Bill Gates leads a team of talented computer programmers to produce an excellent product and uses inexpensive CDs or downloads to distribute those products or services. It used to be all CDs, now it's all downloads. Jeff Bezos developed a better way, as defined by consumers, to connect producers of products to the end consumer, thus a less expensive middleman. No doubt about it, Amazon's a middleman. So is Walmart. Walmart's a more expensive middleman because people have to go to those stores. Now you can have a warehouse without having to have the frills of a consumer store, a retail store, and there's pluses and minuses to everything. But a lot of people are like in Amazon, and they took a lot of business away from retail stores, resulting in Bezos and the large team serving hundreds of millions of people, if probably billions for Amazon, is going more worldwide. Hedge fund managers put capital at risk and coach businesses to succeed. So hedge fund managers, they don't get just paid just because they have money. They get paid because of the coaching businesses to succeed part of it. Anybody can give somebody money, but unless a hedge fund manager's special talent is picking the right people, overseeing it, and coaching them to success. And that's the way the hedge fund manager gets more money, not just giving them money. It's not just a loan. Okay. Taxes result in people serving their fellow man less. You can look at the Laffer curve. I've done many long videos on the Laffer curve, short videos, everything from a minute long, 3 minute long, 15 minute long, an hour long. I do over an hour long video on Laffer curve alone, and it's absolutely true. If prices matter, the Laffer curve is true. The rich person who is not working is also a rich person not providing services or products to the poor. That's so incredibly important. They have talent to serve their fellow man with high productivity and efficiency. And they serve their fellow man very well. And to take that person out of the mix, yeah, the next person gets a step up, but the next person was already providing services. That's just one less person providing goods and services. Even if somebody else steps up, they were already in the market before. It still always goes back down to you get a little bit less quality, a little bit higher expenses by taking somebody out of the mix. The poor have shown through hundreds of years of buying decisions that they want to offer the rich people more money to serve them. They don't offer the poor people to serve them because the poor person is not giving them the efficient, productive products and services. Now, on occasion they do. They make that decision. but they know they're paying more for a lower quality product on the most part, always exceptions. If the government takes most of the money, the poor gives the, I'm sorry, let's say it again. If the government takes most of the money, the poor gives the rich for that service. So if the rich person has to pay money, and if the rich person has to pay income tax at a high rate, they have to charge a poor person more for serving them, because a portion of that is going to income tax. It's flat out and simple. If the rich person needs $100 to give a certain product or service to a end consumer, and the government's going to take half of it, then they have to charge a poor person $200. The poor person has to pay the government $100, the rich person $100 to get that service. So the price is hidden in the price, so it's $200, but in reality, the government's taking 100 of it, and the rich person knew that going in when they set that price up. So let's continue going. At a high progressive tax rate is effectively banning the poor from asking the rich for their services. So some people, like back in the 1950s, we had a 90% income tax for the rich once they hit a certain level. So 90% income tax on the rich means that the poor must pay the government $90 in order for them to legally trade $10 for the services of the rich. So let's say the rich was providing them a bicycle, and it's a big bicycle, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of bicycles going to a big manufacturing plant. And that big manufacturing plant has to pay 90%. Well, if they need to pay $10 for handlebars or whatever, obviously we're talking $100 for the $100 for a bike. Well, now the government is going to take $900. The poor person has to take, they're going to price the price at $1,000. The price of the bike at $1,000. The government will take $900. The bike company will get $100, and that's what they need to pay their employees and to get a profit. So that's what has to happen. You have to pay nine times more to the government than you do for the privilege of trading with that rich person. That's what you have to do. Other people might provide that service. However, the rich not offering their services means one less person offering services, meaning the price will go up, the quality will go down. It always does. And many people's first choice no longer available. So now they have to go to their second choice. Some people, and then a second choice, once they get that business and they start paying that 90% as well, all of a sudden they go away, or they split up, they become less efficient, a lot of things. Some people might claim that this gives others the opportunity to work. So the second place person, third place person, and everything. That is short-sighted. Those others can offer their services or compete for the same service. Or they can offer other services because that service product is too crowded. We have too many providers in that field, in that market. People's desire to be served is not even close to being satiated. So I can talk about that forever. About everybody who thinks that AI is going to take away everybody's job. No, they're just provide more services to more people as the prices drop, because that's what it means for AI to take jobs. Not taking a job means not having to pay somebody, which means that it's directly going into a lower cost. Now you think it might not, it has to, because the competition will force it to. So as the prices drop, a person gets to buy more things. And so more things can be bought, more things can be made now, more products are going to a higher percentage of people. So where the top 10% used to buy a certain item, now it's going to the top 20% or 30%. Where the top 50% used to buy something, now it's going to the top 70 or 80% because the price goes lower, more people can afford it, and they have more money in their pocket because everything costs a little bit less. So they can, instead of getting 10 things at the grocery store or the department store, now they're getting 11 or 12 things, or 12, 13, or 14 as productivity goes up. And AI is talking all about productivity. So the jobs don't necessarily go away. Now it gets chaotic and messy, but they don't go away. They just get switched to another type of job, making another product, or the same product in greater quantities. Okay, a dollar represents service, anything of worth you did for another. So that's what a dollar represents. The worth that you did is half of a trade. You can use that dollar to request services from others. So that's why we trade with dollars, because somebody pays you $1 for services you did to them, then you can offer other people that same dollar, and that completes the trade. So you might buy a dozen eggs, and then you provide chickens for somebody else. So that's a full trade. You got $1. You sold it. I mean, you got $1 for giving chickens out, and then you bought some eggs, whatever the case was. Now, let's keep on reading. Whoever owns that dollar is due the other half of the trade. So if you only made the dollar and you haven't spent it yet, that's what having that dollar is. That's what having that wealth is. That's what having $100 or $1,000 means, is you did your trade, you provided services into the mix, into the economy. Now you are due that $100 or $1,000 or whatever, how many dollars you have. You deserve to take that products out of the economy, off the store shelves, or service providers. Okay, you have that dollar because you already did your service, and you are due the other part of that service. When someone does service for you, you give up that dollar, and that trade is complete. So you did services for somebody, they give you $1. You give that dollar for somebody doing service to you. That is now a complete thing. So all trades are like half trades. Dollar being the mediator for all of it. Your wealth is a representation of you providing more services than the services you consumed. So if you if you got paid $1,000 this week for serving your fellow man, and you only spent $500 in goods and services, buying groceries and the whatnots, you still have $500 that you could pull out of the economy because you only did half trades. So your $500 is wealth, and that's money due. That's services due to you that you haven't got yet. So it's always good to do more services for your fellow man than what's done for you, because that means you have money, or that means you have services waiting to be done for you without having to do services again. So it's always nice to have that savings, because that savings represents people doing services for you. So a bad analysis of statistics. So there's a lot of bad analysis of statistics out there. Most statistical analysis of income inequality are abysmal. Most reports take the richest income before taxes and the poorest income before benefits. So when people talk about income inequality, there are really a lot of flawed numbers in there. They have an agenda. They want to make the statistics show what they wanted to show, and a lot of times it's disingenuous. There are hundreds of significant factors that need to be considered within economic analysis, and a lot of times it's entirely too complicated. A lot of times they're left out. Very difficult to do a good analysis, but some people are just flat out being disingenuous with it, dishonest with it. A cherry picking of data is to support predetermined conclusions is widespread. Uncompensated services you provide and receive are huge factors. You work for a charity or whatever, and you don't get paid for it. That's something that needs to be factored in. People working at home for their own good, that has to be factored in. If my next door neighbor has a gardener and maid and people coming over doing a lot of services around their house, but I do a lot of that myself. All that has to be factored in, and that's very difficult to factor in. But to do it honestly, that needs to be factored in. Groups use their ideological values versus a full collection of individual values, resulting in actions that are given the worst motivations. So a lot of people they promote socialism or other policies to get rid of income inequality, but in a big way, they're not really motivated to get rid of the other type of inequalities, or they're not. We don't want to get rid of it. We just want to recognize it. Wealth inequality versus income inequality. Income inequality is what's done within this calendar year, within a short period of time. Wealth inequality is what's done over a long period of time. Many of the same people complain about wealth inequality, many on the left. The straightforward definition of wealth is that you served your fellow man more than your fellow man served you. I was talking about that a little bit ago. You served your fellow man a lot, you saved up those thousands of dollars. You do that week after week after week, month and year after year, and then you have your retirement. You hit 65, 70 years old, you retire, and then you get those services for the rest of your lives, which can be a very, very good thing, because at age 80, you might not have the mental or physical capability of providing for yourself by giving those services. So you build up those services over a lifetime, and then you use that. So that's the opposite of somebody who's 20 years old. They get that loan for that business, they get that loan for that house, and they're in debt for that first so many years. And then they should do a switch over somewhere in their 40s where all they're doing is saving up, getting rid of debt, saving up assets so they can retire and do a decent retirement. Okay, complaining that someone has too much money is literally complaining that the rich man is not being served as much as he should be. What do you want the rich man to do? Just go out and just buy more entertainment, buy more vacations, stop making money, which means stop serving their fellow man? It's kind of silly. Plus, that savings is huge when we're talking about capital. I think I'll get a slide about capital and how capitalism runs on capital. What happens when the rich man requests services? Well, he gives up some of his money, and thus his wealth. And if he does that in an entertainment type of way, it's just flat out consumed, and he's not dealing with building new assets, more durable goods, then the world's not better. Yes, he deserves to be served, even if it's consumable, but it's better if he keeps it in savings, uses that savings in capitalism, free enterprise, people borrowing that money, starting new businesses, and you need that money to be productive in a new business. You need to buy that first shovel. If you want to be a ditch digger, you need to buy that good shovel first. Obviously, that's a simple matter. You want to get better, you buy that backhoe. All that takes capital to start with. And each one of those makes you more productive, and you can do 10 ditches a week versus one ditch a week. So you can see how big of the difference that can be. And then you can pay back the loan. But that's what capital does. A rich man putting his savings in investments means he is spending his money on people providing services and building machines that make other people more productive in serving others. See, I went down a rabbit hole, and I had a slide all about that. Okay, while he is maintaining ownership of the machinery and other productivity through stocks and bonds, you have ownerships in if you buy Exxon and they have oil rig, and you are owning that oil rig. Now, obviously, it's a small portion of it. You don't have direct control. You might have a little bit of control in board of directors votes and stuff like that, but that's beside the point right now. Okay, but that gives them the money to buy that new oil rig or new whatever you want to get a more productive way to make energy or make products or whatever. Okay, let's stop going down rabbit holes. As long as a person holds on to his wealth, he is continuously enhancing others' lives by providing necessary capital to escape subsistence living. So as long as that person holds on to his wealth, a big wealth inequality, so that's why we don't want wealth tax. So people will start getting rid of their wealth if they're being taxed on it. Believe me, that's the incentive on that. But as long as they hold on to their wealth, it is continually enhancing other people's lives by providing the necessary capital to escape subsistence living, to buy that first shovel, that first backhoe, that first tractor, to build that machine that makes it a lot more productive for you to do what you're doing. Okay, that's it for this video. Again, you see who I value in economists, some of the leading conservative, liberty-minded, libertarian type of people here. So more at Haley2024.org. Until the next video.